Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade Sola. So first off, it is quarter to 11 p.m. right now, and I'm recording this video because I'm committed to dropping videos every Tuesdays and Fridays. So please encourage me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel before you exit this video, just to encourage me. Thank you. I know you've clicked on this video because you're either trying to be a product manager or you're trying to understand more about the product management space. And I'm here to spill all the tea that you're going to need. So, why are product managers so important? Because the honest truth is, organizations can function without product managers. However, there's so many things that a product manager is able to focus on, and that is the problem space. So if you're thinking of becoming a product manager, not only do you have to train your product sense, but you have to really train your problem sense. Some people have the school of thought that you're not a product manager, you're actually a problem manager, and you're solving problems for both the customers and the business. So there's always need to have that sort of balance on when you're solving problems. You don't want to solve a business problem and neglect the impact on the customer, and you also don't want to solve the problem for your customer and then neglect what the impact is going to be on the business side. So as usual, I'm going to share a story with you about one of my biggest failures in being a product manager. So when I was still a very young banker, I was working at a bank and I was in the consumer banking team. And part of my job was to not only sell credit products to customers, but also to develop new products for the customers. So one day I was evaluating a customer's bank statement, and then I realized that they had this recurring deduction on their statement. Let's say, for example, I was seeing a regular deduction of, say, £200 come out of their statement on a monthly basis. And as normal practice, we would take that into consideration and then use that to evaluate, how much they can potentially access in terms of credit. So we had given this customer a lower amount than what he was requesting for. And when he demanded, to know the reason why, the approval was lower than what he had requested for, we had told him that, there's this recurring deduction where you're paying £100 on a monthly basis, and we had to take that into consideration. And the customer said, oh no, that's not a loan. I bought a TV. And we're like, okay, well, but you're still paying for it. Like, no, I bought this TV from a shop. They do installment payments. And then that was why, that's why the deduction is there. And then from there, because, he had registered in my head, the name of the particular company, I started to see it a lot in customer statements. And another thing that I started to also notice in responses that customers were giving, whenever we asked them about this deduction, is they would say stuff like, oh, that's not for me, actually. I'm paying this on behalf of my colleague who's a contract staff at our organization and who is not eligible to access this installment payment from this retailer. So I had this light bulb moment where I was like, wait a minute, we do credit. These guys are also giving some sort of credit, allowing customers to pay in installments. So therefore, let's just create a product and let's take it to the market. I did a bit of work. I went to some of these merchants that were doing this installment payment, and I spoke to them. I asked them questions around how the process works, what sort of fallback position did they have. They talked about, they take customers' checks. They also told me about some of their challenges in terms of maybe people not paying back. And, I was thinking, that's part of my job. I work in credit, so I understand how we can get our monies back from, customers. It's our core business. So I went ahead and I wrote the product paper, and they ended up launching this product. And then I had crickets. Like, not a single sale, not a single inquiry about the product. We launched the product, we printed flyers, we shared it out. And what we had told customers was that, if you're trying to buy something from this retailer, we would finance it for you, right? So customers were not even coming, they were not even making inquiries about the product that we had just launched. And I was like, okay. And then I started to think about, I think I missed the mark. And I didn't fully understand the customer's problem. So I spoke to the merchants to understand how the process works and some of the challenges they're facing. I spoke to, or I understood what the business requirement is for us, if we're trying to lend and finance products. When I spoke to the customers, I did not understand their problem, and the product failed woefully. So, if you're trying to be a product manager, you have to understand the problem. Eventually, we succeeded on the product, and I'll tell you how we eventually did that. You have to constantly think about the problem space. You have to think about the problems of all the players who can potentially, be impacted by what you're creating, and then think about how to solve them. You can't be thinking about, oh yeah, you just want to put a product into the market because the market is going to tell you you're not solving the problem. So how can you understand the problem you're trying to solve? And you have to pick it in different pockets. This time around, we were trying to solve a problem for customers who were trying to buy things and pay in installment, but we didn't actually really define what the problem was. Or I didn't define what the problem was. So understanding what the customer's journey is, from how they're trying to buy this product and how they're trying to get the financing, would have been a very good place to start. So if you're thinking of solving a problem for a customer, always think about the customer's journey. Like, it's very important that you think about what the customer needs to do in order to get to their desired result. So in a situation where a customer needs to buy something and pay in installment over time, they want to be able to source the items. They want to be able to access the finance. They want to be able to get approval. They want to be able to, eventually get the product delivered to them, and also pay back in convenient installments, right? So another thing you have to think about in the problem space is the user persona, right? So I spoke about, these customers that were trying to buy things and pay in installments. And I also spoke about the customers that were also getting these deductions on their statement because their colleagues who were contract staff were not eligible to this installment payment option. So, you have to define who you're solving the problem for. So I could either be solving problems for everybody, but if I'm solving problems for everybody, I need to take into consideration all the different personas that might be out there. And if I think that I want to solve problem for a particular segment of maybe people who are not able to access credit ordinarily, then that's a different mindset of how I'm going to be thinking about the product. Another thing you have to be thinking about in terms of problem space is you have to be thinking about the user versus the customer. And I'll tell you why. So, for example, if you are, say, thinking of a product for babies, right? Even though the users of the products are, babies, the people you're going to be selling the products to are the parents. So you have to be thinking about, all the different players that are going to interact with the product and try to solve the problem for them. For the babies, depending on the product, it's just for them to be able to use it and use it effectively. For the parent, you have to consider different things like price point, ease of access, safety, for their children. If it's, whatever the product is, you have to be thinking about it in this light. So these are questions that you need to ask yourself whenever you're trying to analyze the problem space. And then when you're done thinking about the problem space, you have to also think about, so why is this problem important? How big is this problem? Because that is what is going to justify why you need to build the product. If, for example, this problem you're trying to solve only impacts, say, one person, right? then it doesn't make any sense. If it impacts a lot of people, then you start to think about, okay, yes, I think that the scale of this problem is big enough for me to actually think of how to solve it. Do you understand what I mean? Because apart from the fact that, it's going to help you to prioritize how you want to solve this problem, it's also going to help you to get the buy-in of other stakeholders on why you need to solve the problem that you're solving. And how can you know how big the problem is, or how important this problem space is, right? You can leverage data, right? You can, and if you don't have access to data, you can go directly to the potential users of this product that you're thinking about, and then ask them questions directly, because you need to be able to figure out if the problem is actually worth solving. So when you're done figuring this out, the problem space is big enough, you also need to think about how you want to measure success. What does success look like to you? How would you know you have solved this problem? And for me, as a product manager, I have to be thinking about it in different ways. And the first thing is, I told you earlier, like, I created a product and nobody was using it. So that was a measure of success, adoption. Nobody was adopting this product, even though it was out there. So adoption is a good way to measure success. The next thing you want to think about is engagement. Okay, so after people have, applied for this credit, even when they get approved, are they using it? Are they following through? Are they coming back, to get another credit to buy something and pay in installment? Because these are ways you can actually measure if your success is doing well. The other thing you want to be thinking about is, it could also be income, right? So are you making money from this product? Is it successful? If, for example, what success would look like for your company is, oh, you're increasing revenue or you're increasing customer base, you can actually measure these things to know whether or not the product is successful. Another way you can also measure success is, you want to think about, is it working? Because, and this is very critical a lot, especially when you're working with tech products. If, for example, you're having people start applications for credit and then they're not submitting, it starts to tell you something is wrong in your acquisition funnel, right? Is something broken in there? Like, are people dropping off? Like, what exactly is happening? So you want to be able to track all these elements to know whether or not what you're doing is working. And a lot of the times you have to think about what this success looks like ahead of the time, even before the product launches, so that you know the things to start to measure after the product launches. So that is the end of this video. If you are thinking of becoming a product manager, like I said earlier, like, thinking about the problem is a good place to start, and you can always train your mind in how to think about the problem space before thinking about what sort of solution you can come up with at the end of the day. Oh, I didn't tell you the solution we eventually came up with. So one of the things that we discovered after we started thinking about the problem of the customer was that the first thing is that the customers were actually getting the credit at the same place they were seeing the product. So they were seeing the product and then they were accessing credit. So that was the first thing that we learned. And then we had to create a platform where customers could shop and also access credit. The other thing we had to focus on was customers who ordinarily would not be able to access credit. So what some of these retailers were doing was that they were actually giving interest-free installment payments to their customers. So we focused on people who were not able to access this interest-free installment payment, and then created a product for customers who were willing to pay a nominal fee to access this credit. The other thing we did was to leverage technology, right? To make sure that it's convenient and people didn't have to physically go into a store to look at the product. So we ended up making sure that there was a platform where they could see the product and they could see, like, the description of the product, and then at checkout they could apply for credit and then access credit. So That's how we solve the problem. So if you really think about solving a customer's problem, you stand a better chance of succeeding than just jumping into a solution, because the market is really going to tell you whether or not you're solving the problem. So on that note, we have come to the end of this video. If you have enjoyed this content, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next time. Bye.